Knowledge media.
Knowledge as process.
Knowledge is something human beings naturally crave.
Do you know what it means to know something?
The Knowledge Media Podcast with Heather Prozac.
Welcome to Knowledge Media. Our guest today, he spent more than a year partially paralyzed. He developed a rare neurological disorder after taking Astra Zeneca. His name is Ross Wightman, and he's joining me from BC. Thanks for joining me, Ross.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you're walking again. So was there a time you couldn't walk at all?
Yeah, there have been a few times I haven't been able to walk. Kind of early on in the process in the hospital, when symptoms were a little more acute, I couldn't move my legs at all, and between that and just overall fatigue and muscle weakness over the 2 months in the hospital that I spent, I really struggled even just being able to stand up on my own. I mean, I had to be lifted up into a walker so I could try and move my legs with from a physiotherapist. So
give me a glimpse into your life before this. What did you do? Your family? I know you're married. You have little ones.
Yeah, for sure. I'm 40, and most of my working career, I've been in aviation as a pilot, flying air ambulance and with Jazz and WestJet for 9 years. So healthy, in the gym 5 days a week, trying to eat pretty clean, spend as much time outside, skiing and walking, just enjoying the kids and the dogs, and just a multitude of outdoor activities and healthy.
So when the pandemic hit, getting the vaccine was just something you were going to do, or did you struggle with it? Like, where was that at before you got the shot?
Yeah, no, didn't like it, but we decided to move ahead just to kind of get on with life and hopefully get to another level of normalcy, and kind of, we were, I think, all expecting this to be a little quicker than it turned out to be. So
Right. So you decide to do AstraZeneca. You got that done. How quickly did your life change? Was it? I can't remember. Is it first or two? Are there one or two shots with AstraZeneca? I think it's two, right?
Double. Yeah. Yeah, I think there might have been some Facebook post that there was a pharmacy that had doses available. So I signed up, got the call, went on a Friday, just had the typical kind of flu-like symptoms afterwards, until about 10 days later, the day after Mother's Day. And that's when I had the back pain started. It was burning and kind of stinging down into my hamstrings too, like an 8, 9 out of 10 pain. Very, very, very painful. And so 3 trips to the emergency room for at that point I had no other presentation other than back pain. And then the 4th time in, I started to have facial tingling and some mild facial paralysis, and that's when things started to move along pretty quick. And had a CT and blood work and lumbar puncture, and that's when I learned about Guillain-Barre syndrome for the first time. So
Okay. And so doctor immediately knew it was an injury, an adverse reaction, or no?
they consulted with a doctor, and I went to the Vernon Hospital, which is a little smaller than Kelowna, kind of equal distance from our home, so a little nicer drive. So we went that way. But in chatting with the doctor when I was in Kelowna, he kind of mentioned that he remembers me. He remembers a phone call. He remembers AstraZeneca, facial tingling, back pain, Guillain-Barre. Let's get him tested and treated. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
lots of people struggle getting a quick diagnosis. It can be presents itself in many different ways. So I'm, pretty lucky in that sense that piece of the puzzle was solved almost instantly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So how long is this after your shot that you are diagnosed? A year?
10 days.
Oh, 10 days? You were diagnosed with this 10 days after.
10 days after the vaccine. Yeah.
That is fast. That's really
Yeah.
fast, actually. That's rare that you get a diagnosis like that. So
Yeah.
so now you're dealing with that, and where do you go from here? Because obviously your life has physically changed. I'm sure the family dynamic has shifted. Your wife's trying to manage everything. Where do you take everything from there? What do you do?
What do we do now? I mean, it's like you said, our roles have changed. The house has changed. Just we've got a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, so obviously a busy household, healthy, active little men, dogs, yard work, housework, looking after me. There was a few months early on, 3-4 months after I was discharged, that I needed, like, she had to help me with a shower and put my clothes on, um, like cook food for me. I mean, I was just a bump on a log, for the lack of a better term. So
Mhm. Yeah.
um, it's been a physical struggle for me, and a big mental battle for.
It's a huge mental battle, isn't it? Like, I'm thinking maybe I hope it's getting better now, but it must have been daily.
Yeah, to be honest, there are days that I feel like it's harder on my wife than me, if it's possible to fathom that. I mean, I'm kind of in my, not selfish, just thinking about myself, but I'm kind of just totally almost consumed with my own physical disabilities, and I can't burden as much of the load around the house. So um, I've been pretty good and resilient. I've certainly had my moments. We've got a few holes in the drywall that I shamefully taken ownership to, but it's tough. We're lucky. We have a lot of family close by that have taken a big, big load off of our shoulders with the kids, and helping take them to events, and tidying up the house, and just new friends that I've made, been driving me to the hospital and back. That's been one really cool thing.
What do you
just
mean? Like that you've met new people through this?
just new relationships, like people in
Yeah.
the community that we knew through kids. Kids kind of broaden your social network, and so people that we had just known in passing, or you see in the hockey rink or the ball field, and some of these people have stepped up, and I I can't drive, right? So I'm in the hospital like twice a week doing outpatient therapy and haircuts and stuff like that. And so I've been able to make like new friendships, new relationships just
Wow.
out of it. So as you can tell, I'm trying to stay positive throughout it all, because I'm a
Good.
firm believer that will make a big difference in my life too. So just still grateful for a lot of things, new things, different things.
Different things, different relationships.
Yeah,
Which is incredible. So your life's changed obviously drastically with this nerve damage. Is
yeah.
there anything as you're going to the hospital twice a week, do you do doctors say that something like this your body will work its way out of this? Or what do they say with an injury like this?
Most people recover ish. I believe it's somewhere in like the 80% range. I do have a more severe case, just of damage to my nerves, than some. So there, I haven't been told to expect anything other than a full recovery. I've just had a specialist appointment actually on Tuesday in Vancouver, and they just kind of painted the picture that I've got an uphill battle, but it's been a good 10 months since I've left the hospital, from not being able to walk out of an ICU room with the help of two physiotherapists with a walker to, I think I did like 7,000 steps the other day.
Awesome.
Felt okay the next day, right? So
Yeah.
I know where I'm going, and I've kind of someone mentioned the analogy like that the book is already written and I just have to fill in the create the story. It's kind of cheesy, but I mean that's
No,
I'm
it's
just
good. It's good because, as you're talking, I'm thinking, I hope you're keeping track of everything you're overcoming because that's the key, right?
yeah.
Because it sounds like from where you were at the start of this to where you're at now, and then 10 months from now, I'm believing that it's gonna be even more incredible and you'll have quite a story. So the reason I wanted to get you on, Ross, was because I have been hearing from a lot of people about
Mm,
vaccine injuries, and
yeah.
it's been just in my DMs, my direct messages. So Health Canada and Public Health Agency, they still say the benefits of getting the vaccine outweigh any potential risk. When someone meets someone like you or other people, with their own stories, of course, that hits a little differently.
Yeah.
Um, you are one of the first people that I've read about that have had you applied for the vaccine injury compensation, and you've
Correct.
received it or you're receiving it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're kind of in the, I don't know, like phase one of lump sum, future loss of income and expenses and expense reimbursement and ongoing expenses as well for physio and chiro and wheelchairs and stuff like that.
So if someone is dealing with an injury as well, and it might be different than yours, just an injury in general, are you able to walk us through steps to get them on the track, like what they do? Because I'm finding a lot of people go, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah. I told you off air that talk to my wife. She got all that going because I was down and out in the beginning. I mean, I know that she worked with our family physician quite a bit. They collaborated. I was in on some of those phone calls early on, just about collecting the data, filling out all the paperwork, getting requests for medical records from the hospitals that I was at. She even has like the paper copies. There's a phone book size binder of just all of my hospital records, unfortunately. So, um, yeah, I mean, lots of doctors haven't seen it. Ours hadn't, so it was a bit of a challenge for him as well. Once the medical records are all in, they also, I believe, went back 3 years. So we had to kind of give them that information. Once that was all reviewed, which took, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, um, my claim moved into the next phase, which I believe is that there is some plausible cause. So then it went into kind of another world with the VISP program. Eventually was reviewed by a panel of doctors sometime in the last month or so, and that was, they found that there was probable cause there, and that's kind of got me to where we are now as we speak. But definitely a slow process,
Yeah.
frustrating. We had some issues with communication in the beginning. It's been much better the last few months, and it's no fun being patient because
No.
you
Yeah.
know, immensely physically, mentally, financially impacted. It sucks. There's no intermediate support to get you from day zero to where we are now. But
So your wife is a rock star is what you're telling me.
oh yeah, yeah.
So if I'm getting this correctly, when you were admitted and you're obviously you're physically fighting this, so you're not going to be able to pay attention to what's happening. Your wife is actually talking to the doctors, and so you actually need the doctor to admit that this is a vaccine injury. And
You
if that
don't
doesn't happen, you're not going to go forward with it.
no, no. So I don't think it's that at all. I don't think that like the family physicians or attending physicians have that decision to make. I don't believe that that burden is on them. We had a adverse event following immunization filled out or submitted a AEFI, which is also done by our family doctor, and my wife helped with that. That was submitted to the public health or medical health officer in the interior in Kelowna, where we live. They concluded that there was a potential temporal relationship, but they were unable to prove that it was casual or causal. So they basically said maybe, maybe not, and even recommended, they didn't advise against getting another Astra Zeneca dose at the time, which I've never seen steam come out of my wife's ears like
I
that.
bet.
That was
She's like, oh,
that was that was yeah that was yeah that was a moment. So
makes you shake your head too, because you're thinking, what?
well, just why that was, we're
Yeah.
like, why would you, this person's already gone through enough, even if there's like there's no other cause that has been determined. Why risk it? Why would you
Mhm.
even why
Yeah,
step that ring? It's like, you're good, you should, this guy gets a pass,
right.
and you get an vaccine exemption, and let's get you better. So
Why are you speaking out? What is making you speak out about this?
it was pure frustration originally. So I initially spoke up in February just because we were getting nowhere with the program. New case managers, emails not getting returned, like disconnected, or phone calls that were, being told that the number is no longer in service. So it was just out of pure
Are
frustration.
you serious? You would get that?
We had a couple of emails just not get returned, emails bounced. Finally came to a head where we found out that our caseworker had left the program or was no longer with the company. So um, that's when we asked to speak to a manager, just because of, that's not right. There needs to be, like, communication, and everything is paramount, especially dealing with people that are having major health issues. So, but to circle back, it was just out of frustration. Selfish reasons, I guess, would just, this isn't right, and people need help. So from that point, it's kind of got me to where I am now. And whether I'm comfortable with it or not, I've been getting messages from people just saying that, thanks for speaking up, thanks for sharing your story. I'm now submitting my VISP paperwork, and I'm going to my doctor tomorrow, and we're going to fill out the paperwork and get my, file going. So
When
that's
you
cool.
shorten it, that is cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there. Even though you didn't put yourself in the position on purpose, that must mean something to you, because the messages I'm receiving, people feel lost, that they're alone.
Yeah, for sure. And it's confusing. There's, like I said before, even the health professionals don't know how to necessarily go about getting an application into. So everyone's learning, and depending on what's happened to you or your support system, or I mean, even I'm not very good with paperwork to begin with, so I would have
None of us are.
yeah, like doing it on my own, like instructions, no thanks.
Yeah.
So I mean, we felt the same way. So
So you keep referring to the paperwork as VISP. VISP?
vaccine injury support program, yeah.
So we go to the Vaccine Injury Support Program website. I'm assuming there's
Yeah,
paperwork on there.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's the starting point for, and was that the starting point for your wife when she got on this process?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then the next phase is to wait for them to respond, or I noticed there's phone numbers on the website and so on and so forth.
I kind of wasn't totally present and coherent for
Yeah, you
the
said. Yeah.
infancy of our application. So um, I believe I believe the starting points are all on there, and hopefully more doctors are
Fun.
a little familiar with it, or at least know where to get some answers now. So yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for talking to us about, what you've gone through. With your experience, besides the friendships, what else are you finding what are some of the positive things you found?
Oh, I mean, obviously the healthcare workers and the nurses and physiotherapists and occupational therapists and rehab assistants and pool, aqua therapists. Those people have been like my life. I mean, for 2 months they were, and now twice a week I've been in there since October, and so they're amazing people. I've made a few friends as well, just through dealing with them and working with them. That's great. I mean, cliche, but like slowing down and smelling the flowers. I think my wife is kind of tired of me babbling on, but we go for a walk on our street and I'm just loving the flowers and just the smells in the air and just like appreciate going for a walk. I mean, I couldn't do that for so long. I couldn't
Wow.
drive or it's just the simple things, like the tide goes in, the tide goes out. It's not till the tide goes out that you can kind of really see what's out there and kind of what's important. So it's just been a interesting, like a forced way to kind of slow down, like literally and figuratively, and just trying to find my wings again. So
And as you gain your mobility, it'll probably put a whole new perspective on you and your family. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for letting us get a glimpse into your world and for sharing your story because there are a lot more people that are feeling alone. So you're
yeah,
giving them that voice. And I guess the big thing for people that have the biggest question is the vaccine injury website.
and get in touch with their doctor and being relentless in making sure what's supposed to um, be done is happening, just as far as medical records being requested, whether the doctor has actually received a request and they've been sent back to the VIS program. We had a few times where that wasn't the case, so it's just weekly check-ins, making sure quality control, just whatever they're saying they've done is actually being done. So
It's a full-time job, it sounds like. That's wise
yeah,
advice. Thank you.
yeah. Thanks again. Thanks for reaching out.